I don't have time to waste on an intro. Welcome to the place where I judge your taste in primary weaponry. This may be a two-parter, as I think I'll do the original batch of primaries first. What I do know is this: I'm not taking 3 days to get stock footage for every primary when a third of them suck. It doesn't change the words, and most of you treat these like an audiobook anyway. If any of the stated opinions rustle your jammies, well, that's just too bad. Oh, and I may sound a little weird because I'm prepping for voice acting auditions and I'm kind of frying my neck meat. Okay, let's light this candle. If you like the Liberator and you haven't tried already, go get enlisted as an infantryman for the US Marines. You call this weapon old reliable, but it's not Grandpa was using it to kill Krauts in 41 old reliable. This is service weapon you received when you got deployed somewhere with too many scorpions old reliable. This is a dusty, borderline defective Beretta that you trauma bonded with in a holster that almost always sticks. Even looking at this thing is enough to give you flashbacks. You recall dozens of awful outhouse visits caused by MREs DDoSing your digestive tract. You're haunted by the smell of hot piss bottles getting crushed under Humvee tires. You use this weapon because it ignites the portion of your brain dedicated to the best and the worst segments of your life. Oh, and the cartilage in your knees is absolutely obliterated. If you're standing 10 toes down fangirling for the Liberator Concussive, I've got words. You put on heavy armor, you turn off your peripherals, you get a supply backpack, you drop into the lowest difficulty mission available, and you play paintball with the boys. If you like this weapon for anything other than that, you are a liar. Before you respond, I need you to take a moment and sit down. Sit down and eat an entire box worth of fruit by the fuck yourself. Opinions by design can't be wrong, yet somehow yours is. I would be impressed by this defiance of nature's laws and God's will, but here's the thing. I put 2 and 2 together and I decided that you're pissing me off. So if you show up to the mission with this weapon, I'm killing the closest person to you and you're using their gun now. Any other choice, I will kill you until I feel like you have learned a lesson, which is gonna be a while because I find you incapable of learning. Let's get the elephant out of the room before we discuss this weapon. Okay, now that your mom is gone, we can address the problems with the Liberator penetrator. You just wanted an excuse to repeatedly say penetrator. It works fine as a weapon, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's better options, but you don't care. You just wanted to make dick jokes, and I think that's kind of your whole deal. You are not taking anything seriously, and life just seems to work out for you regardless. Be it luck, actually careful planning that we're not all privy to, divine intervention, I have no idea. But somehow, you get to keep fucking around and never end up finding out. You're basically like the universe's Nepo baby. There's weird supernatural forces protecting you from getting creamed by a Kia Soul. If you use the Diligence, I just feel bad for you. I completely understand where you're coming from wanting a marksman rifle with fair mobility. I also understand why you weep silently into your pillow every night. I would be doing the same thing if I had inaccuracy designed into my scopes. Actually, I use the lever action because it's drip or drown for me these days, so we're in the same boat, and I do. I really just wanted to shit on the scope in all honesty. Nobody uses this weapon. Usually I joke about unpopular weapons having endangered species as their player base. If you see someone playing with the base level Diligence though, go buy a lottery ticket. You just saw fucking Bigfoot and your luck is currently peaking. Use it while you've got it. Counter-sniper players are like a protected species. They're only allowed to live on bot reserves. Out of everyone here, you get the award for the most practicality in your field. And I do mean in your field because that's exactly where you're laying. You are as nonchalant as a person can get, and you show that time and time again. There have been numerous occasions where things get too hot, and you just walked away without telling everyone. You have inspired so many quiet quitters and shammers across your places of employment. You are a textbook example for the phrase, choose a lazy person for a difficult job because they will always find an easy way to do it. The phrase doesn't account for them getting bored and walking away, but it is close enough. Punisher players live up to the name. You gave candy to kids in Baghdad while you worked as a bomb tech so they would open car doors and shit for you. I'll keep it a buck. Despite little Zahir no longer being with us, and Well, mostly being part of the atmosphere now, game gotta recognize game. You can't do anything like that over here in terms of gathering a bunch of minions and making an army of child soldiers, so I'm somewhat jealous. These kids are so fat and entitled, the best you can do is roll them down a hill to clear out minefields. I think this gun is actually too clean for you guys, all things considered. You haven't even shaved the serial number off of it. If it were an option, you would comfortably take a pipe shotgun and never touch this again. You are probably playing this to begin with because your friends wouldn't agree to play another World War II trench simulator with you. And yes, we know you probably didn't play the guys who won. Slugger users, don't ask me how I know this, but I do. You don't understand how water displacement works, nor do you understand how the hands on a clock work, and at this point you're too embarrassed to ask. I'm not giving up all your secrets, but I had to let that one out to put you on notice. If you get a drink at a restaurant, you think you need to drink it fast. You're trying to outpace the ice because you think it's going to overflow if it melts. Now, I'm only a little delusional, but I have not lost it enough to think your skull has gotten less thick over the years. Instead of explaining how water expands when it freezes, I'll leave you with this. Just ask for no ice, buddy, or less ice. Those are completely acceptable options, and please don't make ice cubes at home, not that you know how anyway, but the process alone would probably short-circuit your brain. Normal breaker users are a dying breed. The poor weapon isn't even bad, it's just having a Toy Story 2 crisis. Or was it 3? Actually, it's Toy Story 1. The breaker is Woody, working perfectly fine, but afraid that Buzz is going to take his place, and Buzz in this situation is a solid 50% of the other primaries. In some rare circumstances, it's a comfort pick, but most breaker users ran for the hills after the game's first nerf. It's going to be difficult to find a bad player in what little of them are left, because they haven't put that thing down since day one. Given that perspective, you're probably not coming across somebody with more patience than them. They put up with this game's bullshit for a full year straight. Rage bait simply does not work on them. Spray and prayers are about as self-explanatory as you're gonna get. You guys practically aim with echolocation. Only problem is you're deaf in one ear and you've cut off the other. You're the answer to a question nobody ever asked. What happens if we rupture a bat's eardrums and then duct tape an automatic weapon to it? You are why women don't like sharing a bathroom with men. Every time you take a leak, there's piss all over the lid and floor. I'm not really sure where your fear of accuracy began, but it is intense and incredibly detrimental. Funnily enough, you're actually an incredibly safe friendly fire risk because when you're shooting at your teammates, it's the last place your bullets are going to end up. Talk about polar opposites, breaker incendiary players. Teammates don't even have to be downrange of your fire. You will find a way to deflect it off a shield into them. You should all have the term collateral damage tattooed on your chest with several typos. I know I've said this before, but you guys put the retard in flame retardant. Your parents should have treated Smokey the Bear saying, "Only you can prevent wildfires," as an advertisement for contraceptive. You have never cared about the mission. You just wanted to see the landscape get glassed, and I don't think you'll ever be happy, but I'm pretty sure you believe the steps involve killing everything else that is. If you're using the Dominator, you are the smartest dumb person at any given moment in time. It's that kind of unpredictable stupid. You're sort of like a baby horse. There's no real goal to your movements. All you're doing is throwing yourself in a direction because it's the alternative to not moving at all. Fortunately, in what can only be described as dumb luck, it's so stupid that it works every time. You are such a clusterfuck of a human being, it's impossible to plan for whatever you're about to do. None of the algorithms can pick up on something this utterly spastic. Their biggest mistake was trying to think like you when, in reality, you've never had a thought in your life. If you're using the Scythe, you are the dumbest smart person at any given moment. You know every last utility and function of this weapon, and you still use it wrong. It's like you're searching for higher purpose after hitting the mountaintop. You keep trying to reach for more, but there's nothing up there besides skyline and atmosphere at this point. You spend your time trying to find logical loopholes in order to fit square blocks in triangular holes. You see the problem here? Of course you don't. You spend so much time looking for the most complicated solution that you ignore the easy one right in front of your face. You're too smart for your own good, and you should get a little brain damage to even yourself out. Scorcher players are strangely elusive for no good reason, even on the bot worlds. Generally speaking, these are your most experienced players. The Breaker users have the longest employment history, but the Scorcher players have received the most commendations. Their necks are getting sore holding up all the medals they keep getting. However, I'm afraid they make awful teachers. They lack the disposition. If you're in a mission with them, they expect you to keep up. If you don't, they will forget you exist as you are dragged along the highway with your sleeve caught in the door. The options here are sink or swim, and they do not give a shit which one you choose because they're gonna do what they're gonna do whether you're there or not. Defender players are always happy. That's a privilege you're afforded when you can run while shooting. I am personally surprised this weapon didn't inspire people to demand more submachine guns way sooner. I don't use it because it's not sexy enough to match the energy that I radiate, but I envy the people that do. That's the thing. These people don't care how they look, it's all function over form, and they get to live significantly less complicated lives as a result of that. Night players are always pissed. That is the consequence of picking a weapon that has more climb than a spider monkey on crystal meth. In all honesty, I cannot remember a time where people wanted to use this gun. I'm not even talking meta perspective here. I mean people avoided and still avoid this like the plague. I'm pretty sure its only playtime was from people who really were trying to get their money's worth out of the Super Citizen Edition, and then it was never picked up again. Well, that took more than a while, so join the Discord if you feel like it, and have a good night.